Hey guys, happy Friday. Back again. Carl, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm good, buddy. I'm glad it's Friday. Another busy week.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you do? Anything great?
This week, God, I've been shooting video promos and all sorts of things. We've got the massive live training event on Tuesday. So I've been getting all my ducks in a row for that. I know it's the first time you and I have ever done it.
Yeah. First time we've done it, which is exciting. If you haven't signed up yet, guys, there'll be a link in the comments for you guys to sign up for the training. It's the Stay at Home Millionaire Summit. I know Carl and I are both really excited for it. It's been a whole lot of fun to get gear up for and get prepped for.
Yeah. So doing all the little videos to invite people to it. So that's been busy, and then obviously structuring the training, what we're going to talk about, and it's real kind of actionable stuff, guys. This isn't some flimsy webinar. This is real hardcore, deep training. I'm going to go through the entire 10 steps in a lot of detail. So definitely show up and check out this completely free training. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. So I've got a massive honey-do list of jobs over the weekend again. I don't know if our friends watching are on the Confessions of a Dealmaker list, but you might have seen me hiding in the bushes all week from my wife to not give me gardening jobs to do. But I promised I would do some stuff over the weekend. So I have a big long list of jobs, but I'm going to relax, get some exercise, do some cooking. I don't know if you've noticed, I've started to learn to play the guitar, so I might do a little bit of that, catch up on some reading. And yeah, this business is a 7-day week business for me, Adam, as it is for you. It's like, I don't feel like it's a job. I feel like it's my mission. And I'll be reviewing some deals tomorrow. I'll be doing some more content. As you know, wrapping up the Empire Builder training, which is going to be absolutely epic. This is for bolt-on acquisitions. So if you own a business already and you want to buy another business and massively scale what you've already got, it's different in some respects to buying your first business. So we've tooled a completely new training program on how to do that start to finish. So it's like Dealmaker CEO, but it's a lot more intense in terms of having a business and buying other businesses to scale, because it gives you more revenue, more cash flow, more customers, more people to kind of bundle into to what you've already got. And as we've always said, now's the best time, probably in the last 50 years, to be looking to buy businesses. So we're trying to give you guys every tool, in our pockets to make you super successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. The dealmaker world is a great world, right? Just buying as many companies as we can, and hopefully helping teach as many people as we can. So happy Friday, guys! If you're here joining us, just drop a hello in the chat. Looking forward to seeing you. We've got a really exciting Q&A session here for you today. A couple things we're going to cover off. First and foremost, we've seen a lot of people in the Dealmaker Launchpad group, which is the Facebook group for the people who've joined the Dealmaker Launchpad program. A lot of discussion in that group around do I stay in my lane or not when it comes to what kind of companies to buy. And it's something Carl and I feel very strongly about. So we just figured to cover off the first 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes or so today, really diving into that, because it is the critical element of deal specification that you just can't miss. And it's super important that you understand the why behind, our certainly argument for what you do, but and understand why people might feel differently. But yeah, so we're excited. So if you're here, happy to have you. Just drop a hello in the chat. We're really thrilled to have you here. So Carl, you want to just jump right in, stay in your lane, or when to merge?
So staying in your lane. So the reason we wanted to talk about this is a really kind of interesting topic. And You know, at the end of the day, there are three really critical things that you need to do to become a deal maker. The first one is you've got to really define your purpose. You know, why do you want to buy a business? And taking that and getting real leverage over yourself so that you can power through when things get sticky. And that's all about you wanting to build a legacy, wealth creation, cash flow, freedom, assurance, pride, all those different reasons. And they're different for me as they are for Adam, and they're going to be different for you. So you got to master that. Point number two you got to master is the ability to build relationships, because this is a relationship business. And you know, I often see people's comments in the Facebook groups. Oh yes, I've got a deal that I want to close. Anybody refer me to a contingent fee advisor? No, you've got to build your own relationships, guys. This is real tough love. You've got to build relationships with these people. You've got to start off at the very beginning to get these people in your network. Before you even start looking for a deal, connect with CPAs and lawyers and tell them what you're looking to do. Build those relationships and get them as part of your team, and then keep in touch with them as you're going through the process of originating deals, because then when you finally got one you're ready to close, you've already got these people in your network. And once you've got a letter of intent signed for the deal and you've got a financing term sheet from a financier on the assumption that you're making a closing payment, you take those two documents to these advisors and they're going to more than likely work with you on a contingency fee basis. But you know, like people say to me, hey Carl, give me a link to a contingent fee advisor. And I'm like, no, why would I? I've spent years building those relationships. They're going to do deals with me, but you've got to go out and you've got to build your own relationships. So point number two, relationship business. And point number three, which is the topic of this part of this call, is you have to stay in your lane, especially on your very, very first deal. And what I mean by that is buy a business in a sector that you know, you understand, you're passionate about, you can add value to personally, and you have a network already that you can leverage into that deal to again add more value once you're the owner of that business. And so if you're an engineer and you're working for GE, you know, go and buy an engineering business or a manufacturing business. If you're a web designer, go and buy a web design company or an IT services company. You can kind of pivot a little bit, but really stay, you know, within that lane. And then some kind of counters to that, caveats to that, are people that say, hey, well, I've never worked in any industry. Well, really? You've never worked in any industry? But if you haven't, if you have no direct experience or skills or sector chops, but you still want to be a deal maker, then go and partner with somebody that's got that gray hair, you know, a bit like me. I got lots of gray hair, especially because I can't get it cut right now in lockdown. But go and partner with somebody that's got some chops in a space that you want to buy businesses in. So you may be in the engineering sector right now, and you think, well, you know what? I'm done with engineering. I don't want to buy in that space. I want to buy a hotel, or I want to buy a technology company, but I know nothing about the industry, but I'm really passionate about it. So if that's true, if you're really passionate about an industry you know nothing about, go and partner with somebody that's got those skills, and then you can do the deal together. So that partner, let's say you want to buy a technology company, you've got no experience in that sector at all. When you partner with somebody, and you can find these people on LinkedIn, if you partner with somebody that knows that space and do the deal with them, then you're able to leverage their chops and their skills and their experiences. And I'll tell you why this is really important. If you try and buy a business in a sector that you know absolutely nothing about, then number one, the seller is not going to take you seriously. As you know, our model, this leverage buyout model, is identifying owner managers of small businesses who want to retire or leave or do something else. They're burnt out, frustrated, tired, fed up, whatever it is. This is all about you being a safe, trusted pair of hands. And if you don't have any credibility in that industry, that seller is not going to take you seriously. You know, in a lot of cases, these sellers, it's almost like giving up their children in a way. They've been through 10, 20, 30, even 40, 50 years building this business, taking sacrifices, working long hours, working weekends, missing vacations, not spending time with their family. They've put blood, sweat, tears, energy, you name it, into building these businesses. And what they care about in a lot of cases, more than cash, is the legacy of the business that they built, the safeguarding of their employees and their customers. And they want somebody that's a safe pair of hands that can take it to the next level. So if you've no chops in that space, the seller's going to look at you and think, well, it's like you pretending to be a childminder and having no experience or knowledge of that space. If you came to me, I wouldn't let you look after my children for the weekend. Or if I needed somebody to take care of my dogs, and you had no experience in that world, I wouldn't trust you to have my pets for the weekend. But if you've got knowledge and energy and passion in that space, it makes a massive difference, not just for the seller, but also for financiers. So if you're looking to do a deal that needs a closing payment and you go to a financier to give you equity or debt or whatever it is to put into the deal to allow you to make a closing payment and buy it, then the financier is going to look at you through the same lens as the seller. So you have to have the chops. It's really, really important. So if you don't, but you still want to do a deal in a sector you don't know or understand enough, then just go and partner with somebody. And then there's a lot of kind of debate around, building a deal team early. And I love that. I talked about that right at the start of this call, building your deal team, getting a lawyer on board, getting a CPA on board, getting a consultant on board as well to really kind of help you understand the space. Having that deal team early is critical. But just one word of warning, don't go for like the big super hitting firms thinking that credibility is going to elevate you in your deal. Remember, we're doing $1 to $10 million deals. So you don't want to be going to KPMG to do your financial due diligence. You don't want to be going to Davis Polk on Wall Street to do your due diligence, even if you've got people that are working there and will still do those deals on a contingency fee basis. The reason why I recommend you don't do that is they're going to massively intimidate the other side of the deal. They're going to massively intimidate the seller. So stick with local people that you can find, you can network with, you can build rapport and build credibility with these people, and then get those people into your deal team. So for me, Adam, those are my golden rules of why one should stay in your lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we share pretty much identical thoughts there. There are people who are going to have more horizontal skill sets that'll allow them to be a little bit more industry agnostic. People who have been around, well, frankly, just about any kind of business, or they've got transferable skill sets, whether it's financial or business management or otherwise. But you will always benefit from sticking close to somewhere you can speak about and talk to with some level of knowledge and understanding and credibility. So Carl and I pretty much agree on this through and through. I think some limitations of this are, frankly, come down to your creativity as a deal maker. Are you able to think clearly and creatively about the kind of industries your skills will translate to? A teacher, well, cool. There's online education companies. There's just tutoring companies, childcare companies. There's all kinds of businesses that are tangential, but still leverage the same kind of education skill sets and mindsets required to be an owner of that business. Again, we're owner investors, not owner managers. And so it's clear to understand the difference. And if you're looking to buy a business and work in it, that's great. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's where your skill sets being relevant are going to go even higher up the ladder of importance. So
absolutely,
we would just encourage, yeah, go ahead.
I remember like a good example of this is, and people will say to me, well, Carl, you're buying businesses in sectors that you don't have direct experience in. And I'm kind of a little bit different. Adam and I, we have what we call horizontal skill sets. So if you're a lawyer or a CPA or a highly seasoned deal maker with hundreds of deals under your belt, then you can pretty much buy businesses, in any sector. However, like when I bought Radio Express, my social media kind of blew up and people were saying, Carl, you're such a hypocrite. You've never worked in this space. You know nothing about the radio media industry. Yeah, I've just bought a business in that space. How did you do it when you tell us not to? But I partnered with somebody. That had 25 years in that industry. I made him my CEO and I gave him 40% of the ownership of that business. So even myself with 330 plus deals under his belt, when I go in and I buy a business in a space that, I don't understand and I don't know, I will partner with somebody that has those chops, because it makes a massive difference to sellers and to financiers to get those deals closed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to realize that that experience can replace a lot of, deal making experience can replace a lot of actual work experience when it comes to different industries. The more businesses you've seen or touched or been involved with in some capacity, frankly, the easier it's going to be to understand the needs of really any industry, right? I mean, through my career, I've pretty much touched every industry, either directly or indirectly. The benefit of that accounting background, where I worked on so many different clients, and then even professionally, having worked in so many different business areas, hospitality, restaurant, education, certainly marketing, and so on and so forth. And so all of a sudden it gives me this foundation that I can work and touch pretty much any industry.
Yeah.
And again, good for me, great for me, but how does that really help you? And I think for you guys, it's just really important to start with what you know, and it's going to help narrow in, right? I was literally just on the phone with someone, a guy Carl and I are both friends with. This was yesterday afternoon. And we were talking about analysis paralysis, and it's something he's struggling with a little bit because, like Carl and I, he's got a bit of a horizontal skill set. And one of the challenges and limitations is when the world is your oyster or your opportunity, it's hard to pick which one. So for those who are already niched in some capacity, right? We've got a partner we're working with Prox, he's niched into the automotive space. Why? Because it's what he's got experience with, and it's fantastic that he has that experience. So it's really all about kind of moving forward and working in a space you understand, and it's not going to limit opportunity. Remember, we're talking about millions of companies for sale here, so the opportunity is abound. I do want to answer Geraldine's question. So if our expertise is more about general business management, but for service businesses, then this will give us a bit more credibility, even if the service is a bit different or not, kind of as a generalist. And the answer there is pretty straightforward, right? And first off, glad to have you guys here. Say hi in the chat if you haven't. But it's really important to recognize that you can take that business management experience and translate it, right? Say if you're a service business, whether it's a marketing agency, whether it's whatever the service is, it's all transferable. It's all about customer relationships. It's all about how they're billing and understand the business model. Like those things are translatable, and you can adapt your language to whatever the individual business is that you're looking at and evaluating as a possible acquisition. So you're absolutely good to translate it. You've just got to do the work to make sure you understand enough to speak intelligently around it. And here's the other thing, right? So Robert's asking us again in the chat, and I think we've seen this on Facebook as well, is people are hitting a wall with lenders and finance brokers here in the US. They're asking for skin in the game. This is causing delays, and some are losing deals. I want everyone to stop what they're doing when it comes to the panic and frustration of this. It simply means you're not thinking as a deal maker. You're not listening to the things that Carl's taught in the course, and you're not understanding the critical elements. And I'm not bashing you guys. I'm just saying you're not taking the steps you need to take. Carl just said, maybe 2 minutes ago here on the live, when it comes to deal spec and staying in your lane, if you don't have the expertise, what do, Carl? You go find a partner who has it. If A bank is not going to lend you the money, whether it's an asset-based lender, traditional financing, an SBA loan, or anything like that. If they're not willing to transfer any kind of lending to you or give it to you, find a partner who can put equity in the game. There's plenty of people out there who have more money to invest than they have opportunities in which to invest in. Build your network, build a relationship.
Absolutely.
I just had an email this morning
Yeah,
from a contact of mine who said, hey, you should raise a $50 million fund doing this. Why aren't you guys doing that? Why aren't you using your network? And I'm not saying I'm doing that, but think creatively. There's a lot of people out there. So if you don't have the money to invest in a deal, if the bank needs 100 grand, see who you can get 100 grand from, whether it's your friends, your family, your professional network, and then give them equity, give them a part of the deal for being the person who helped make it close. So again, not ragging you guys too much or anything, but you're not taking that one next step, which is to think creatively and to understand the same challenge you solved to get the deal to where you are right now. You've got to do the same thing. You've got to do the same thing when it's finding a deal partner, right?
Yeah, and
the problem gets solved.
The great thing about having a deal partner as well, so not only can you partner with them for them to bring capital into your deal. So let's say you're doing a deal and you need, let's say you're buying $1 million business, and because of the nature of the financing, let's assume it's SBA, or you've got some cash flow lending or senior debt in that deal. So it's not secured against like receivables and real estate and all those different things. And financiers say, guys, we need 5% from you guys, or 10%. We need 50 to 100K. So you can go and raise equity from a partner to plug into that deal and buy that business together. But one of the quick hacks with that as well is the partner that you bring in financially, look to see as well if they've got any value that they can add to the business. Do they have a network that they can leverage into your deal so you can scale it faster? Do they have a skill set that the business might need? So for example, are they an ex-financing professional? Were they a CFO of a large business and they've retired and they're now an angel investor wanting to partner in these deals? So if they've got strong financial chops, they can be your part-time virtual CFO and give you some of those skills that ordinarily a sub $5 million business is probably not going to have. So Adam's right, and it's tough love, but stop complaining about it. Go and find a partner. If you need money, if you need equity to get a deal across the line, go and find it. It's the Rolodex is in the CEO program. Google angel investors. Go on the Angel Investment Network. If you're in an engineering deal, go and find an engineering specific angel investor and get them to partner with you in your deal. And yeah, even if they're only putting 5% of the cash in, they might want 25% of the equity. But I don't know about you, Adam. I'd rather own 75% of a business and get the capital I need than 100% of nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you and I are the same way. Close a deal versus not close a deal. Those are the options. And if you're creative and understand what it takes to get there, then you're going to be able to close those deals. All of this is in your business buying training, Carl. Like all of it. And I think people need that refresher. And for those who haven't gone through your training program, next Tuesday, April 28th, 1 o'clock, we're doing a live training for you guys. It's the Stay at Home Millionaire Summit. We'll drop links here in the YouTube chat for you guys to sign up if you haven't already. But all of this is in the training, and we really want people to understand that you can do this. These are all solvable problems. So Robert, I hope I answered your question. I hope it puts you on the path to success. And I want you to come back and tell us when you've closed those deals, you and anyone else who's struggling with that, because it's super important for you guys to realize, like, you can accomplish all of this and any of this. It's just about you having the creativity to actually close the deals. That's all it is. The creativity.
So Adam, I got a really cool question for you from Michael. And I think this is right up your street. This is definitely, Adam, in your lane, because that's the topic of the call. So Michael's question is, hi guys, thank you for all your great content. When you buy a business, do you have a kind of checklist of things that you may want to change in the business to make it more profitable?
Yeah,
because
I mean,
one man in the world has that skill set. It's you.
well, thank you, Carl. Listen, a checklist is a simplification for sure, but when you think about a business, right, you've got three main drivers in the business. Start, stop, finish. Three main drivers. One is, how are you making money? What are you doing to generate more revenue? The second is, what is the cost of that revenue, right? If you're in a manufacturing business, this is your cost of goods sold, your raw materials, and things like that. What are your costs of the business? And then the third thing is, what are the other costs associated with the business to keep the lights on, right? This is your overhead, your financial controller, and things like that. Those are the three areas. For me, I'm going to spend 80% of my time on the first bucket.
Yay!
The second bucket and the third bucket will get the 20% combined, right? I said this on a mastermind Carl and I had last weekend. If you're looking down in your business at the cost, you're not looking up and forward. And as a owner, investor, and a business entrepreneur, if you're not looking out and how to grow the business and you're looking down at the cost, you will never, ever succeed. You can only squeeze a stone so hard. You can only extract as much from the cost, right? But revenue is unlimited. You can always go up there. And so what I would say is checklist, yes, but if you're not spending most of your time evaluating revenue and growth opportunities, then you're going to struggle growing that business. So for me, it's 80 and 20. So 80 for revenue and 20 on the rest. And ideally, and that's normally just for the post-acquisition transition, I'd say the majority of my time is going to be, after that 90 days I'm probably at 95% focusing on how we drive more revenue. Because if you've got the right controls in place and you've got the right people in place and they're incentivized to think like an owner, the costs should take care of themselves. And
Absolutely.
If they're not, you don't have the right people in the right roles.
Absolutely. And there's two elements to that as well, because, any business, Adam mentioned it, you've got revenues, you've got cost of sales, and you've got overheads. Overheads in a lot of cases are fixed. So if you grow your business, your overhead to most intents and purposes will stay the same. So all of that margin you're generating is going to drop straight to the bottom line. And then also, if you're in manufacturing and you scale and you grow, you'll get better economies of scale on the stuff you need to buy and in-source to do whatever you do. So scaling your business, scaling your top line profitably is the most important thing that we do whenever we acquire a business.
Yeah, 100%. And again, it comes back to, even while you're doing your due diligence, while you're analyzing the company, before you ever buy it, this is a part of the entire process. You want to be focused on what you're doing post-acquisition as you're going through it. An acquisition has three buckets, right? Pre, this is when you're negotiating the deal, figuring out financing, and putting an offer together. You've got middle, this is right up to the day or so of the acquisition in the first 90 days. So that's your transition period. And then you've got your growth period. And that's any time after that transition period. The entire time you're evaluating growth opportunities, no matter where you are. Because if it's not a business you don't think you can grow, you're not going to buy it. If you don't think it's a business that you can successfully transition and grow, you're not going to buy it. And once you've owned it and transitioned it, if you don't think you can grow it from there, why did you buy it? So at the end of the day, when you evaluate opportunities, growth is always at the forefront of what you're looking at. You're not jumping into a declining business and saying, well, I'm going to ride this one into the ground. You're just putting yourself at risk. We want good businesses with distressed or motivated sellers, because we're able to step in and provide that unity of an option where they get to win because they've successfully transitioned to the next stage of their life. And then you get to win because you're now an owner of a business.
Yep. And this all goes back to the original point at the start of the call. If you're saying to yourself, well, I don't know how to grow the business that I'm about to buy because I've got no knowledge of it or experience in that space, that's why you should stay in your lane or partner with somebody that can add that value to that business. Because remember, there's only three ways you can make money from doing a leverage buyout. You can make a little bit of money in some cases if you raise more capital than you need to pay out at closing, your closing payment, your closing costs. So if you need 900,000 to close the deal and you raise 950, the 50K, if you want, take it out, spend it, do whatever you want. Think of it as your deal maker bonus fee. Then as the owner of the business, you get the cash flow that the business generates every month after you've serviced the deal that you've just acquired. Seller financing, repayments on any asset financing, and therefore that's how it works. But the biggest payday, the most money you will make by doing an LBO is when you buy it, you grow it, you pay down the debt as you grow, and then you sell it. It's like buying a house that needs a lot of work. So let's say you buy a house that needs a lot of work. You buy a house for $500,000 and you borrow $450,000 to buy it. And then you own that house for 3 years. You've done loads of modifications to that house and you've given it more curb appeal. It's increased its value. Now that house is worth $800,000. And at the time you sell it, you've paid off $50,000 of the debt. So you only own $4,000. When you sell that house, you've just made $400,000. It's exactly the same when you buy a business. If you don't grow the business, you're not going to make a lot of money when you come to sell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it's why we're all in this, to make money. You know, this is what we believe to be really the fastest and easiest way to true generational wealth. It's the path that Carl and I are on for our own lives and our own financial houses. And we want you guys to feel the same about your life and your financial pursuits. So just focus in, right? Understand that the opportunity is out there in front of you. So glad we could answer that question there, Michael. Raj has asked, if you've not owned a business in a sector, how do you understand the growth prospects? The seller will always tell you there's room to grow.
Yeah, of course. But again, if you understand that industry, whether you've owned a business in that space or not, if you have knowledge of that sector and the dynamics of that sector and what the business does, why customers are buying that business, how they sell and market currently, if you are staying in your lane, you should know the answers to those questions. And if you don't, partner with somebody that can. Add a consultant to your deal team that knows how to do this and give them a piece of the business, a piece of equity to help grow it. But one thing that you'll always find in the vast majority of cases, whenever you look at a business for sale, and it's always my second question that I ask, second or third. First question we always ask is why you're selling. Second question is, how's your business structured? Is there someone in your business that can step up and run it? And then your third question is, how do you scale? How do you win new business? And most sellers will tell you, they'll say, hey, Adam, hey, Rajal, hey, Michael, hey, Jeff. That's the great thing about our business. We don't do any marketing. It's all repeat customers and it's word of mouth referrals. And Adam, we love those types of deals because we know that you've got that recurring revenue and cash flow that's coming in every single month as we're pumping the gears and growing the business. But as well, where you've got a lot of repeat customers and a lot of referrals, it tells you it's a really, really good business, that they have more than customers. They have raving fans that are prepared to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in terms of just understanding growth prospects in general, this is where staying in your lane is devastatingly important, right? If you've got a capacity to understand what that market looks like or not, you're going to be able to evaluate growth prospects. You should never rely on what the seller says in full. A pro forma financial statements where they're saying, well, we'll just grow up and it'll be totally fine. You can't rely on that. You've got to do your own evaluation. And that's where understanding the kind of business and industry you're in is really critically important. Michael's asked another question, and he promises it's the last one. It doesn't have to be the last one, Michael. You can ask as many as you want, and we'll try to get to questions given time. We've got some other ones people have sent in, so we'll get to those in a moment. Deal pipeline. What other ways do you use other than direct letters and networking, or is that enough? I would say it's never enough. You want to use every tool at your disposal, whether it's using brokers, whether it's the direct approach and building your own list and sending out letters, whether it's networking on LinkedIn and proactively reaching out to business owners in your targeted industry, or networking with professionals. I think Carl and I, it was maybe 3 weeks ago, we did a Facebook Live where we talked about the four people, right? This is a CPA, an accountant, this is an attorney, this is a wealth manager, and this is banks or financiers, right? Like those are the four people you really want to focus on in terms of evaluating and building a network, right? These are people who sellers are going to talk to before they sell their business. Hey, wealth manager, I'm about to make $1 million because I'm going to sell my business. What should I do with it? Hey, accountant, I'm going to sell my business. How much in taxes am I going to pay? Hey, attorney, I'm about to sell my business. How do you protect me? Hey, bank, I'm about to sell my business. What's going to happen with my loans, right? So all of a sudden, these four groups of people are going to crush in terms of networking because they're constantly going to be talking to people who are ebbing and flowing in the life cycle of their business. It's just great relationships to build. So hopefully that answered.
Great.
Yeah, let's see if we can get to some of these questions that came in earlier. Let's see here. What are the criteria and approach techniques for selecting and contacting the potential dream team members? We just talked about the CEO, CFO, lawyer, accountant, other industry advisors. What's the criteria for selecting and contacting them?
Yeah, so there's two answers to that. So the first one is think about people that can add value to the business, and then think about people that can add value to the deal. So adding value to the deal, you're talking about a CPA that can do some due diligence, and you're talking about an attorney that can paper the contract and do all the legal due diligence for you and protect you as the acquirer of that business. And as I mentioned at the start, my criteria is I build networks with local professionals that in some cases, obviously they have to have M&A experience, mergers and acquisitions experience. And then in some cases, if it's a really complicated deal in a highly niche sector, I'll find somebody that's done deals in that space before. I shy away from the huge people like the KPMGs and the Davis Polks of the world, because as I mentioned before, I found that can highly intimidate sellers. I was part of a roll-up in the professional services sector a couple of years ago in the UK, and we hired this big dream team. We got Freshfields as our law firm, we got KPMG as our due diligence guys, and we were going around trying to buy accountancy firms and smaller the professional services firms. And they were like, oh my God, these guys, they got freaking KPMG and all these big hitting people. And they were really, really intimidated. So it's a lot, you'll get a lot more success if you go for kind of local people. They've got more sensible fee structures. They're a lot more aligned to contingent fees. A, if you've built the relationships. B, if you've got term sheets for your financing. And C, you've got a signed LOI with a breakup fee. Very, very important. In your LOI, and there's a template inside of the Dealmaker CEO program, if you're in there, where you have to have a breakup fee in one of your deals. That means that if the seller pulls out of the deal for whatever reason, you're able to get them to pay those fees for the closing costs. And I think we had a similar question to that from, let me see, Demetrius asked, if you close it, if you're doing a deal and it aborts, what happens to that fee? So there's kind of three answers to that. If the seller aborts the deal, then that breakup fee is enough to cover those professional costs for the deal done up to date. So that's the first reason. The second one is if you've got a great relationship with these people they'll just roll it on into the next deal for you. And you might have to pay double fee next time. But again, it's all about building those relationships and getting those people in your deal team really, really early.
Yeah, absolutely. Great answers there. So I want to answer this, get to this other question, Carl, which this came in from Linda in the mailbag. What are the new game rules, best practices for value in your business given unprecedented coronavirus impact? Even if it is 100% seller financing, still need to determine the valuation. So your help here would be awesome. Some previously enduring profitable businesses are not now, and others that were struggling are now booming. Please discuss best practices for business valuations in this new normal and include advice on managing the widening gap between seller and buyer valuations. So really big question there, Carl. If you want to just, what are the new game rules, best practices, for valuing a business given the unprecedented coronavirus impact?
So that's the question of the day for me. That's the best question we've had today. We've had some phenomenal questions. Thank you, everybody. But that's a great question because there's loads and loads of different elements to that. And we could talk about that, just for hours on its own. But let me give you three kind of big points on this. So the first thing is, during this pandemic, a lot of businesses aren't necessarily suffering. So it's all about you buying a business that is either surviving COVID-19 or it's in a situation where you can pivot that business and make it thrive even once you close the deal. So for example, I'll give you an example in the manufacturing sector. So one of my friends owns a manufacturing company and he makes components for performance motor cars. And obviously, not a lot of people are buying motor cars right now. So his future order book for all of those components has massively shrunk. And he called me and he's like, dude, what do I do? And I said, well, you're all tooled up inside of your factory to make components for medical devices. Why don't you just go and do that? The medical sector is screaming for more supply of ventilators and other medical equipment. The NHS in the UK, they're building these super hospitals all over the country and they're screaming out for all these devices. So smart manufacturing business owners are pivoting, and instead of making what they were making before, they're now manufacturing these components for the medical supply chain. And not only are they surviving, they're thriving. They're making a lot more money now than they were before, and they're hiring people. And obviously, as you know, people are furloughed, people are getting laid off, so they're able to scale in that way. And it's not just small businesses that are doing that. Large businesses are doing it as well. Take Burberry, one of the most expensive fashion clothing brands in the world. They'd stop making clothes because obviously we're not going out shopping right now. They're making PPE. They turn their factories into making personal protective equipment for doctors and nurses, all over the world. It's crazy. So point number one is, buy a business that is either pivoting or can pivot through the situation. I think the second point is sellers don't like uncertainty, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. We call that FUD in the marketing world, but sellers don't like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And as a result, I think what's happening right now in the economy is maybe the straw that's going to break a lot of the camel's back. So they're going to decide, even if their businesses are doing okay, they're going to think, well, you know what, I've made my money. I was going to retire in a couple of years anyway. Maybe it's time I put my business for sale and I get out. And what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot more people trying to sell their business. And obviously, there's always been a massive shortage of qualified buyers with access to capital and really the chops and understanding of how to close deals. So it's simple supply demand economics. So because that's happening, what we're seeing is the ability to push a lot more of the deal into seller financing. And you referenced there 100% seller financing deal. So point number three is, if you're doing a 100% seller financing deal, that's great. But there's two things that you need to do. The first thing would be to, really work with the seller and understand over the next 12 months, what is a baseline financial forecast going to look like? What are the revenues going to look like? What are your cost of sales going to be? what are your overheads, and effectively what cash flow can this business generate over the next 12 months. A piece of that you're going to want to take out for yourself as the new owner of the business, and then the rest of it you can basically sanction and say, well, that's going to be your seller financing. And then if there's a gap between what the seller wants and what the cash flow is actually going to be able to pay, then there's two things you can do. You can either lengthen the seller financing note, or what's more common in these times is you introduce something called an earnout. And what an earnout is, it's like a bonus payment that you make to the seller when the business achieves above a certain level of revenue or a certain level of profitability. So let's say an example, you found a business and you're supremely confident it's going to do $500,000 a year minimum for the next 3 years. And you might want to take 100 grand a year out as the owner of that business. So that's leaving 400 grand times 3. So 1.2 million is what you can pay on a 3-year seller financing note. If the seller says, well, no, I want $1.5 million, then you say, great, okay, I'll give you an extra $100,000 per year over the next 3 years, providing the business generates an extra $200,000 of cash flow. So that means you're getting half. So you're now making 200 grand a year, and you're giving the extra half, the extra 100 grand to the seller by way of an earnout. And earnouts can ratchet up, and they can have other sorts of conditions, which I think is beyond the scope of this conversation. But again, going back to what Adam said before, it's all about being creative. It's all about being creative with the deal and creative with the seller, and truly understanding, what's their motivation to sell. If they're frightened to death of what's happening right now, and you find a good business that you can pivot, it's all about engineering the numbers to give them what they want, but giving you what you want as well. So it's a win-win scenario.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't signed up yet, next Tuesday, April 28th, we're doing a live training at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We'll just drop a link in the chat if you haven't signed up. Where Carl and I are going to go through not only what you can do right now, but realizing that you have the best opportunity while we're all stuck here at home to be trained on how to do this. And that's what we're going to do next week. So looking forward to seeing you there. Hopefully you guys sign up. So next question here, Carl, because you absolutely smashed that one. And this ties to something we've already talked before about, which is personal credit needed when securing or searching for financing for deals? Should we have a resume handy as well when talking to contingent fee advisors? We've answered this a little bit already, and this was from someone who sent in earlier. And listen, the answer is no. It's all about finding a partner if you do need credit who can provide the credit, and you give them equity in exchange. If you need capital, it's finding a partner who can put in capital while you don't. If you're a good deal maker, you can walk away with 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% of a company or more while leveraging other partners to provide the missing pieces of a deal that you don't have. Business ownership, business financing, business leadership, business capital, all of those things are solvable problems. It's just building and expanding your network to reach out and grab those people who are able to fund that and find the solutions. But you've got to be the linchpin. You've got to be the deal maker to put it all together. That is what we're teaching, and that's what we're trying to help you guys understand. So you can do all of that. It's just a matter of jumping in. So let's see, what other questions do we have here? M. Sway has asked, once you acquire a business, do you guys ever get leads from your vendors because they have customers you could possibly do a joint venture with? Absolutely. I was talking to some business owners again at this mastermind Carl and I were at a week ago, and the thing I told all of them, and Carl would certainly repeat the exact same thing, is you're a business owner. You're looking for opportunities to either acquire business or whatever. Your competitors, those are people you can acquire if you're looking to bolt two businesses together. Alternatively, if you're looking for some kind of vertical integration, print out a copy of your P&L and look through every single person you've paid or collected money from. All of them represent an opportunity to acquire a business. We're working on a new course Carl mentioned at the beginning. It's called Empire Builder. It's going to be something we launch here in a few months, probably early summer. But it's for business owners, and we're going to be teaching them how to do this. But it's super exciting. You've got the list of available opportunities right in front of you. It's just a matter of how do you approach them, how do you have those conversations, and then how do you structure those deals, because they're a little bit different.
Absolutely. No, you smashed that. Really quick super question from Gerardo in the chat. He's sending a lot of direct letters out to.
First of all, nice work, buddy. Sending these letters out are an incredible way to connect with business owners.
And he's getting calls, he's getting leads, which is fantastic. So well done, Gerardo. But he's saying, hey, I'm only getting an 8% response rate rather than a 30%. How do I increase it? So what moves the needle on the conversion is how much effort you put into tailoring that letter. So if you wrote a letter and said, dear business owner, my name is Gerardo. I'd like to buy your business. Please give me a call. You might get 1 out of 100 responses, maybe less, maybe 1 out of 500. If you spend the time looking at that business, for half an hour, or outsource it to a VA, $6 an hour in the Philippines to do this work for you, find out what you like about the business. So in that letter, you can compliment them on what they've done in that business so far. And then, Google if they won any awards, if they won any major contracts, find out about that and tell them why you like their business. The second thing you need to do is you need to identify bits of information about the seller. So go find them on LinkedIn and go find them on Facebook. If they support the same sports team as you, or they like the same kind of food, or they vacation in the same spots, talk about it in your letter. If they've worked in an industry, if they've worked for somebody before that you've worked for that company, if they're ex-HP or they're ex-IBM or they're ex-GE and you are, or people that are, and you can share a little bit of those stories. Just put some of those nuggets in that letter, because when they rip it open and they read it, and people love getting letters these days because it's quite rare. I probably get 2,000 emails a day and probably 2 letters, so I always open them, and they read that letter, and you're building the relationship before they've even spoken to you. It's phenomenal. There are students in the program, Adam, Alex and Flint. They're getting 75 to 90% conversion rates because they're spending a couple of hours on each letter. So they're going for quality over quantity. So the more you tailor the letter, the more you compliment the owner, the more information you can portray inside of that, then definitely that is what moves the needle.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, again, nice work on getting those letters out. I think people, and we've seen it, who have done the direct approach. Again, all this stuff is taught in Dealmaker CEO. You've taken the template, you've customized it to the specific business. You're going to see those calls. And frankly, as you said in your comment, and we say it all the time, you're only one deal away from changing your life. You're just one deal away from changing your life. And so keep on cracking with those.
Carl, hey, Adam, I've got a humongous wasp in my office. It's like this big. So I'm still going to be listening, but I'm going to kill that sucker. Sorry, I don't like killing insects, but it's going to sting the heck out of me. So I'm just going to find another hat and swat it. Hold on one sec.
Yeah, no worries. Well, while Carl's on patrol, we'll get another question in here. Let's see. During the last 4 weeks, I've nice job, bud. I've submitted an offer on 3 different deals, and businesses were up to 50% of the purchase price will be paid by a vendor loan over a 2 to 3 year period. Negotiations are underway. In all cases, current owner managers are happy to stay on and manage the business for 2 to 3 years until the vendor liability is settled. Would it be the best to avoid doing such a deal where sellers are unwilling to provide a minimum annual profit or turnover warranty during the vendor liability settlement period? All right, so the conversation's getting a little into the weeds, but ultimately what's being asked is, do you have to put in the contract some agreement saying, hey, I'm going to buy your company and I'm using effectively the cash flows of the company. Is the seller going to provide a guaranteed minimum of revenue or profit in order to ensure the runway is there? Well, it depends. If it's me and I don't have a personal guarantee on the debt, yeah, I might not have any issue, because that owner is still a part of the business. And if the business doesn't perform, they ultimately won't get paid, because that bank's going to come and come after the assets of the business. So a little bit complicated here, but I think in short, the thing you've got to do is understand that when you're looking to acquire the business and you're using a loan to do it, you can't ever ask someone to guarantee performance, whether they're running the company or not. You can incentivize for better performance, which is what I would do. So ignoring how you structure the original part of the deal, I'd simply slap on top of it an earnout. So say, for example, company's making $200,000 a year in profit. What you're going to do is you're going to say, listen, for every dollar over 200,000, because I know $200,000 a year is going to be more than enough to cover my debt service and put money in my pocket as the owner. So what I'm going to say to the guy who's going to stay on as an owner manager, even after post selling, I'll give you, for every dollar over 200,000, I'll give you 50 cents of every dollar. You don't care, because as the owner, it's all upside. You'll never pay that money unless you're making money. And so what you do there is you say, listen, business makes now 300,000 because that guy's incentivized. He knows if he can grow the business and continue to operate it successfully, he'll make more money. So in that particular case, you make 300,000. The benchmark's 200,000. You've got a difference of 100K. That means you're going to get 50K of additional profit in your pocket, and they're going to take home 50K of additional profit. So everybody wins. And so the idea is, if you're concerned about the structure of a deal and whether this guy's going to be able to stick around and perform at a level, just put a big honking carrot right at the end of the stick so that they're willing to push forward and operate the company in a manner that would be very successful. So again, looking to that, it's all about how you structure it. It's all about the creativity. It's all about your ability to hone in and find a way to get whoever's involved, whether it's the GM, that's someone who's elevated in the business, the seller who's sticking around, or anyone you hired to bring in and run the company. I always, categorically always, want to treat them really well. And to do so, I incentivize them for the job they're doing. I want to treat them like an owner. I want them to get paid like me. If they're paid like me as an owner, they're going to operate and think about the business just like I would. And so that's super critical and super important. Yeah. So last quick question from Demetrius. If you have a breakup fee in your LOI, do we have to pay it? Do we have to pay it if we do not want to go through with the deal?
No. Nope.
It depends on whether your LOI is binding or not. I'm not an attorney, so you need to get some legal advice to make sure it's written in a way to ensure it's binding. It depends sometimes on whether a purchase agreement is signed or not. But the short story is, if it's set up correctly, they're going to owe you that money. And that's what you can do to help pay your businesses. So anyways, listen, and last thing, Raj, because when we say a business's acquisition is no money down, it's really simple. No money for you. It's no money from you. That means you're putting no money out of your pocket into a deal. Pretty straightforward. You can own a piece of a business without putting any of your personal cash in. So that is 100% what we're teaching. Guys, again, next week, Tuesday, April 28th, we're doing the Stay at Home Millionaire Summit, where we're going to be teaching you guys during this time of crisis, the #1 skill that you can learn, which is certainly deal making and how to get into it. So thanks so much for the open Q&A. We're really looking forward to continue to do these. We'll see you guys Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. GMT for our Facebook Live Mindset Monday. We'll see you guys then. Remember, you are one deal away from changing your life.
Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for joining us. We will see you on Monday. Until then, bye for now.
Bye, guys.